Hey, what's going on, everybody? KD here with the third official episode of the King Darius Experience. I'm extremely excited for this episode because I'm launching into a new era of life and business, and I want to share that with you guys. Before I go there, obviously, there's a lot of chaos going around with, coronavirus and being sheltered and things being quote unquote shut down. I'm actually in Chicago, and things aren't really shut down. I mean, stores are still open for the most part. Restaurants are still doing curb, service. Liquor stores are essential, so they're open. Parks are open, roads are, so it's like everything but work is kind of shut down, so it doesn't really feel like it, even though I know there's a lot of people out there who are negatively affected by this. But at the same time, I do believe that times like this allow you to focus back and recalibrate and shave the fat off of stuff that doesn't matter, which was the entire theme of the first two episodes. So the fact that we have a pandemic, if you will, that's sort of forcing behaviorally us to shelter back in and focus on the people we love, the things we love. It's insane how many people are bored in a time like this. How can you be bored when you have so much inside of you that you could be doing? And I understand that, everybody has different personalities and whatnot. And not everybody has the best situation in regards to being able to get out and do things, but even within the four walls of your house, it's like there's still a lot that you could be accomplishing, especially if you know who you are and what you want to accomplish. And that being said, I wanted to announce that I am officially starting a business again. It's been in the makings for a long time, and it's a multi-tiered business. It's not just a one platform business. It has a lot of cascading business units off of the core enterprise, if you will. And essentially what I'm launching is something called Sacred Global. And the focus of Sacred Global is to awaken and empower every creator in the world, or every creator that my content, my brands, come in contact with. So I'm starting with 4 core business units, and it may sound like a lot, and it's like, I'm not just starting one business, I'm starting 4, but they all serve a collective purpose and each attack a different area of the vision in the right time as well. So the machine, or the engine behind everything, the thing that will keep things going and people and revenue and all that kind of stuff, and the vision moving forward, and my ability to, think about an idea, a campaign, an innovative flow or whatever, and put it into existence, is Sacred Media House. And I'm doing that with one of my greatest friends and brothers, Nick Rice, one of the most talented creators that I know in existence. Phenomenal photographer, phenomenal videographer, makes beautiful films and takes beautiful pictures, and I've created a lot of media with him over time. I mean, just kind of look at the screen. We've been doing this, behaviorally. This is what we do. No matter where we go, who we come in contact with, we love telling stories, and we like using all forms of media to tell those stories. So I'm gonna be running a house essentially that does social content, custom content, digital advertising, strategy as a whole, and production, so that way we can tell other people's stories and help push their visions forward as well. So that's going to be the machine, the ever-growing engine. Then I am working on something right now that's related to music, but it's centered in the health industry, if you will, or the health industry, total self-health, and that's Sacred Space. So I won't go into the full detail right now because our websites are launching within a week of whenever this podcast drops. And if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably already seen some of that. But essentially what it is it's focusing on the spaces of who we are and where we go as humans. So I've identified 3 spaces, and it's nothing new, but what I've done through the brand is identified 3 spaces that make up our experience on Earth. And essentially we have our head space, we have our atmospheric space, the place we reside or live in, and then we have the spaces that we go to. And what's interesting about that is in each space we have frequency, volume, time, and control. Very similar to music, right? We have frequency, the amount of times we are in that space, or volume, the level at which that space affects who we are, the time spent in those areas or those spaces, and then the control that we have over those individual spaces. And so essentially I'm doing a categorical library, if you will, of sounds, prayers, focuses, even media assets that will support people in their process of total self-health and focusing on themselves and pushing that forward. So a lot more to come there, and I'm partnering with some really cool people there. One of them being Robert Alexander with Icon Global. So that's really exciting. He's a health guru, super intelligent dude, and has a beautiful perspective when it comes to total self-health. So I'm going to be doing a lot of content collaboration as well as some events and business activity with Icon Global and Sacred Space. So we've got Sacred Media House and Sacred Space, which will eventually be an app. And then we have the online creator school. So not everybody obviously can afford marketing services, and I'm gearing Sacred Media House towards creators, towards, influencers, towards brands, towards musicians and artists and that nature. And the phrase, the struggling artist, right? The struggling musician. So the online creator school is going to be pre-recorded, archived content, high quality content done by myself and Nick Rice, where I'm going to be teaching the business side, the digital side of how you can grow and sustain your brand online. So what that looks like to create branding, messaging, identity, position that, find a white space and position your brand there, marketing, which is the second suite, advertising, which is the third suite, and then sales and business development, which is the fourth suite. And what's so interesting about this, like I can't remember if it was the first or second episode, but I talked about how creators rely on, third-party sources for information that's right at their fingertips and that they can do themselves, so the online creator school is going to empower people and awaken them to their own ability to do a lot, right? So that way when they are presented with opportunities to push their career forward, they're educated and they're ready and they're prepared, and their mind and their preparation meets that opportunity. And then finally, which you guys have known, anybody who's followed me at all, is Gorilla Gang Records, which is the all-encompassing house, which is my music, so shaking the world through hip hop and pop music. And I'm partnering with All Alaska Music and Jeremy Robinson, one of my long-lasting best friends, with that as well, which is really excited because we have studio space, we have a vision there, we have an entire acquisition for young artists and that sort of thing, and programming for them. So I'm really excited for what I'm venturing into, and they all have their individual time. So Sacred Media House will exist immediately. Gorilla Gang is recruiting artists for 2021. The Online Creator School is doing an enrollment period for spring of 2021, but we'll probably do a beta launch in fall of 2020. And then Sacred Space will already have a media kit available for download within the next 30 to 45 days. So these are things that are happening right now in my vision and mission to awaken and empower every creator in the world. And I'm extremely excited about it, extremely humbled, because as many of you know, this is not my first rodeo. This is not my first time. I'm not starting from ground zero. I'm taking the best of my journey up into this point, which has been about 10 years in 3 different businesses and a couple partnerships, and that culminating into one cohesive moment that I can align my passion, my world of music and media with the business world. So I'm really excited, and I'm excited to bring you guys along. So what I wanted to do is actually share some things that I've been focused on as I've started this new venture. And I'm actually going to be putting out monthly reports called the Sacred Report, where I have a sophisticated, 10, 20 page max report that goes through the categorical aspects of business and what happened over the last 30 days and that monthly pace of really pushing the ball forward and communicating that forward facing in an authentic and transparent way that shows that this stuff is very accomplishable. It's not hard by nature, but it's the alignment. It's what I've been saying this whole time. It's the alignment that brings the cohesion and that allows us to link arms and move forward as creators and at whatever space we're in. So the first thing that I've been learning, and this may sound a little like mushy, cliche, whatever, but it's very inward facing, if you will, and that is to give yourself grace and be kind with yourself as you're ideating and innovating and creating, and how much mental and physical energy it really takes to create new infrastructure. You're going to totally miss the ball. You're going to miss things. You're going to accomplish some things. You're going to think a thing is a good idea, and then as you start doing it, you're going to think of 17 reasons why it's not going to work. You're going to run into time capacity, resource capacity, people. There's so many things. So as especially if by nature you are an ideator, if by nature you're a creator and an innovator, and you like to pioneer things and create new things, you got to give yourself a little bit of kindness kindness, a little bit of grace in that process. So that way, when you do get to a milestone, because there's never an arrival point, but when you do get to a milestone, you can appreciate and celebrate those incremental growth moments as a creator, as a businessman or woman. So the second thing that I learned that's kind of cascading off of that, and what's weird is it's a quote that everybody knows, but it's don't reinvent the wheel. But I feel like for the most part, people view don't reinvent the wheel as don't create something that's already created, right? Which is definitely the case, right? I mean, there's also another quote out there that a lot of you have heard in the business world, where if Henry Ford would have asked, people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses, right? But he created the automobile. So I think that don't reinvent the wheel is sort of two-tiered. One tier is, use what's already working to your advantage and build off of that, innovate off of that, whatever. But also don't be afraid to go outside of what already exists and create something that's completely brand new, or bring together multiple solutions into a brand new solution. So I think that quote sort of has a two-tiered focus, where this is where I'm taking the best of who I was and what I've done up until this point and the lessons I've learned and whatnot, and building on top of that, while also bringing brand new things into existence that I had never ventured into before. So it's meeting those two worlds in the middle, so that way the current version of you, the newest version of you, is the best version of you. I think we're always trying to reach out to the future and bring a version of ourselves into the present that I think is unrealistic. And if we learn to be the best version of ourselves in our current version, I think that life and our activities in life and business will be a lot more fulfilling. And then the third thing that I've been learning is that it really matters to move as a unified front. This doesn't mean that you have to partner with everybody. This doesn't mean go find like-minded people and go hang out with it. No, it's none of that. It's literally, are there other people who are casting similar visions? Are there other people that are behaviorally, I say this all the time, behavior over words, right? If you watch behavior, my favorite thing to say of all time is I want to run into people who would have done this whether or not I met them or not, right? So for me, I'm looking for people, and I have been looking at people in relationships and friends and business associates or whatever, where I'm like, behaviorally, they're going to do this no matter what. Like, they are hell-bent on making this their reality. So let me link arms with them, and where their end, where they end, I start, where I end, they start. And can we create a cyclical, forward-moving, unified front to really accomplish and accelerate some of our vision? I say it all the time too. I feel like this episode is just a glossary of quotes, but it's like a rising tide lifts all boats, right? And so I think it's really important to have a unified front. And what's interesting is, like I said in the disclaimer in the beginning of that point, is it doesn't always have to be partnership level stuff. Like, you can partner with people on content, partner with people on accountability, partner with people on the development of things, partner with people on strategy, partner with people on production, partner with people on, ideating, or whatever it is. Like, it doesn't have to be, let's sign this paper and X amount of this business. Like, it literally is, hey, are there other people that are doing what you're doing? Are there other people who have insight, innovations, that have workings, that have projects, that have a portfolio, that have a catalog, that have a behavioral history of accomplishing something that's either related to or cascading off what you're trying to do? And is there a way that you can negotiate and collaborate with them in a way that pushes you both forward faster than what you could do, separately? And then the last two things that I've been really focusing on as I've been launching this new business is decision making is powerful. The first version of anything that you launch is never going to be the final version, even in its best form, right? So for me, it's very much a self-aware, self-evaluating, accurate execution, and then fast adjustment. Accurate execution and fast adjustment. I always say the term micro adjusting. Let's just do it and then micro adjust. Do it, micro adjust, because you don't know until you're in the game. You don't know until you're in the trenches, until you're on the field, until you're practicing what you see in your head. So making decisions and being confident that that's the best decision you can make with the current information that you have will get rid of a lot of stuff. Bad motives. It'll get rid of bad opportunities. It will get rid of time wasted. It will save you a lot of time, money, and resources if you really focus on making effective and quick decisions. And then the last thing before I part with you guys is that routine is everything. And routine isn't a matter of like repeating the same things over and over and over again. Routine is a matter of ebbing and flowing. And I love making musical reference, but it's rhythm, right? When you're orchestrating a song and you're working on phrasing and sound and dynamics and all of that kind of stuff, and you are arranging a piece, you're not going at the same intensity and repeating the same things and vamping them over and over and over again. What you are doing is you're moving with the patterns, you're moving with the orchestration, you're coming in and out of moments and dynamics, you're ascending into different instruments and then pulling some back, you're taking away rhythm, you're filling space with ambient sounds, while in other places you want static. Like there's a whole process. And I think that routine, because we are energy beings, we are people who need rhythm, we need a certain cadence to what we do, and I think we get into this thing that it has to be a habit, it has to be something that I do second nature. No, it just has to be something that's part of your routine before it even becomes something that is, like the back of your hand or second nature. You have to find your routine and your flow. So for me, what was really interesting is I mapped out my routine, and I had family in there first because I care about that. Then secondly, content, because I always want to tell my story. And then 8 hours of sleep, and I still had 8 hours a day left. And I was like, holy cow, like this is insane. When you really allow your schedule or your routine, the breathing room, to be only the things you care about, we have a lot of time to accomplish stuff. And I'm telling myself that and preaching that to myself, because I've wasted so much time thinking that it was a productivity hack or thinking it was a one decision away from no, it's routine that I was missing. So for me, it's like, if I can offer those same 5 insights to you guys as well, maybe you'll save some time, maybe you'll save some resources and some energy and hopefully some money too, as you begin ideating and creating your stuff. So I would love to hear, if you've made it this far in the podcast, I would love to hear what y'all are working on in this time. I just dropped a song about 48 hours ago called Find Your Way Back, and essentially what it is, it's my future self talking to my current self at all times. So I'll say the same thing in 6 months, 9 months, 2 years, 3 years, or whatever. The song represents me talking to myself and finding my way back to calibration. So it's gonna play as soon as I hop off here. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 3 of the podcast, and I will see you next week for episode 4 of the King Darius Experience. Peace. Yeah. I talk is talk and move is move. When